Welcome to another CEO Wisdom Pod. We have Amarjot Singh with us today. He's a PhD, he's a founder and CEO at Skylark Labs. He's a postdoctoral fellow at Stanford University, the DARPA guy, and his PhD was at University of Cambridge. Did MIT 35 under 35. So they were gonna discuss his company. It's creating Skylark's creating an advanced AI system to solve today's far-reaching physical security challenges. So, sort of an Andrel, right, Amarjot?
Thank you for having me, Charles. Yeah, so one dimension of the company is kind of Anduril, where we focus on providing situational awareness to several of our defense clients. One of our application is deploying our AI solutions at the border. So that would be a similar application as Anduril. But the key advantage of our technology is that any software or AI is only as good as the designer or only as good as the data sets they have learned from. But when you deploy these solutions in the real world, you always see something new, and that's where the system fails. But rather than going through this traditional update where you gather more data, retrain, redeploy, our solutions can learn on the device within seconds this new information, which is great because now you can recognize these new threats in real time rather than 6 months afterwards.
Interesting. How did you get into this? What is defense applications and AI, the intersection of it? Why is it interesting for you?
So most of my work has been in defense. Well, first of all, my dad was in defense, so I was very interested in defense applications. But most recently, my work at Stanford was funded by U.S. Defense DARPA, and I was part of a program called Lifelong Learning Machines, where the key idea was how do you design machines which can learn forever. Hence, from that program, this technology came about, which can keep on learning forever, keep on growing forever. And defense is a natural application because one, it was funded by them, but the second, defense is an application where you always see new kind of signals coming. It is in unconstrained environments. It's closed loop, hence the need, and hence the solution.
Right, and you have so many solutions on the website. Like, what is the focus right now? Slash, where are you seeing the most product market fit? Is it the AI box, is it the Scout Tower, Tracer AI vehicle, or
Yeah.
Sentinel AI camera?
So if you look at the Scout AI Tower, that's where most of our current focus is. That's where most of our time and energy is going. Primarily because there aren't a lot of companies doing it. It's a very hard problem to solve, so not everyone can come and say they can also do the same thing. And also, the client is willing to pay. The political headwinds are such as well that there is money being deployed on border protection. So, with the combination of the current uh, political party in the US, money being deployed at the border being a hot topic, and we have the right solution which fits that. I think that's where the current focus is because of all those conditions.
Right. So mostly US market. Like, how many of these towers have you deployed, and what's your sales process like? Because usually governments are pretty slow to make decisions, right?
Yeah, so we deploy first of all in the US, India, and Australia. So the company is based in three locations, and that's where we operate. Now, if you see, there are these MK1s and the MK2s, smaller towers as well as bigger towers. So I think we have deployed a total of around 10. And the way we are doing this thing is by going directly to the bases or going directly to the end customer, and they are able to procure it at the base level or the site level or the border section level. And then we have someone who's an end customer who's buying it telling us where it works, where it needs improvement, and then from there it is becoming there. From there, it's going to larger procurement, which is usually done at the DC level, and then eventually it'll become a program of record. So right now, whatever we have sold at the grassroots level, and from there it'll scale up.
Right. And tell me a bit more about like how they evaluate the efficiency of a product, because technically they don't really have a competing solution. They might compare it to before and after, but it's not super scientific, right? So tell me about how they evaluate the efficiency of the Scout AI tower, for example.
Yeah. So currently, um, the way they do that is we'll walk in front of it, and then it should give us an alert. We'll keep on going far away from the tower, so we'll figure out how far away it can detect. We'll change the stimuli. The person is crawling, the person is hiding behind bushes, the person is walking. So those are the initial tests. And then later on, it's in the wild. If someone is coming over the border, your tower should detect before the patrol party detects it. And right now, uh, that has been successful. And to further scale it up, they're comparing it against Anduril. And over there, our tower is placed next to Anduril. So whatever action they do in the field, the Anduril tower detects, and then they have to make sure that our tower detects as well.
Right. And why not a drone? Why a tower that is stable? Why not like a moving drone?
So so drone is a good option, but drone has a limitation on the battery. So here these things are in the middle of nowhere, and they're being deployed. They have to self-sustain. They have to function continuously. So drone has limitations on the battery, which is a big disadvantage. The other thing is we want to be able to look 3 miles away from the tower. So the radius of scan is 3 miles. So the number of sensors which you can put on the drone has to have a certain confinement on the power limitations and all. So if I want to put a camera which has a focal length of 400 meters or so, that becomes difficult because those cameras are bulky, they are heavy, they require a lot of power to run, and drone has limitations on all of those. Um, Not able to hear you, Charles.
Tell me about the immigration problem itself down there at the southern border. How much of a problem is it for the US?
So it used to be a big problem before the current administration. The current administration has been quite strict in terms of hammering down on illegal immigration. So right now, the number of trespassers have reduced to maybe like 200 a week. Previously, that number used to be 500 plus a day, maybe 1,000 a day. So it's a big problem because we have a very big border going from all the way from Texas to Arizona to New Mexico to California, and then on the other side, border touching the Canadian side with Detroit. So human trafficking is one problem, but also then there's a problem of fentanyl drugs coming, which is going further into all the big cities, Indiana, Bedford, Bloomingdale, Chicago. So it's a big problem, which is not just at the border, but also it affects everyday life of common Americans.
And your other solutions, your other products,
Yeah.
why did you decided to double down on the Synapse AI box, for example, the Tracer AI vehicle? Tell me a bit more about that one.
Yeah. So most of our work is focused on building this next evolution of AI, which works well for not just what you know, but also what you don't know, right? And we had to figure out multiple ways of deploying it. So when we were initially building these products, they were funded by different defense grants. And Tracer came out of one of those projects where the key idea was that for military bases, you have garbage basically which can be on a tarmac, which is called foreign object debris. And when fighter jets turn on, this debris can be sucked in, and which can cause damage to the engine, and in worst cases also damage to life. If you think of the Concorde in 2000, 100 people died in that plane crash in Paris, primarily because a small metal piece got into the engine. So that's the foreign object debris problem. And they wanted to build a system, a mobile system, which could run up and down on the tarmac as well as on secondary runways, and would give alerts for this debris, which is as small as 3 mm. So that was designed by the Indian Navy and for the Indian Navy. But now that specific product has grown, where we are deploying it on highways, which is recognizing different kind of defects on the highways. We have also deployed these things in uh, other sites, where other secure areas where any kind of tarmac imperfections are important. This is doing that. So basically, health monitoring of tarmacs as well as road surfaces is where it's being used. But the short answer, it's the tower is a fixed solution, and this is a mobile solution. Um, but tower is primarily the full-fledged solution where you get the whole thing. You get the sensors, you get the infrastructure to mount, you get the AI. But most of our infrastructure, whether it is in defense or public safety, it's already there. The sensors are there. They are just not intelligent. And they did not want to replace all the existing sensors. That's where the Synapse box comes into play, where you plug sensors to your AI box, the Synapse box, and it makes all of them intelligent. The police uses it quite a bit for their drone programs, where we package this thing in a case where you have this AI box, and you just put the RTSP of the drone in the box, and you see the analytics on the screen. So that has been quite popular as well.
And how complicated is it for you to deploy these new products? You have a team of 50, but it must be pretty complex to decide to launch these and to actually make the production, the first prototype, right? And
Yeah.
start A/B testing. So tell me about that process.
So I think the biggest overhead here is go to market, and then also managing the operations of deployment, and making sure that the customer is happy. So if they raise a ticket, someone has to go and address that ticket. So we have a network of channel partners through whom we deploy. So they are the ones who are able to manage the marketing sales within the regions they are at, and then deploying it with the customer. So that helps us with the operational cost and dealing with the ticketing. But the decision to what to deploy is primarily a function of where the need is, and how close it is to the solution which we have already made. So whether it is the big tower or the small tower or the car, the heart is the AI box. And the heart of the AI box is our Kepler platform, which is a software platform, and the heart of that is our AI. So we have the AI, we have the Kepler platform, we have the AI box, and then it becomes much easier for us to plug it into different configurations. Mainly problems where there's good money, there's money to spend, and then also the willingness of the end customer.
Right. And you operate in various markets. I see a lot of India as well. How do these markets operate differently in terms of their needs and how they take decisions, right? So, do you market different products? Do you in different countries? Do you customize them in there? And you spend time around the world. Like, what's the dynamics, right? The different needs in terms of countries.
Yeah, so I think um, we operate in three geographies: India, Australia, and the US. And we operate in four sectors: defense, public safety, transportation, and critical infrastructure. In all four of these sectors, you're going to have unconstrained environments, and you're going to see new kind of things which are coming. And the pitch is different for defense versus commercial. For defense, it's like you're not going to miss a signal. We're going to detect everything proactively so that lives are not lost. National security is, paramount. When it comes to commercial, it's a different pitch. The pitch is you're not going to get any false positives. We have the lowest false positive rate in the world because if you get a false positive, our system can self correct itself. And that's a big advantage over there because every false positive in commercial is money spent on going to address it. And in defense, everything new missed has its own implications. So we have to like tailor the message based on industry, but big things where something new is going to happen, it's the effect of that is big enough, and then people can pay for that.
Right. And some of the stuff that you're doing, I do understand the value of that. Like for government, a lot of people would think that it's creepy, the facial recognition stuff, like pretty
Yeah.
sure you know that. Like so yeah, isn't it a concern when like the government can sort of I mean, especially if the government's biased, and we know it is, it's bureaucratic, it's quite inefficient, and in these governments, it's not AIs that make decisions. It's biased humans. It's emotional humans, right? So aren't you worried sometimes that if you give them like too much power, they might abuse of it and they might not serve citizens actually?
Yeah, I think it's a valid question. Um, and I think in most of our systems, we have some safeguards that, let's say, for example, the tower is only going to detect people and vehicle and animals. Uh, the face recognition aspect, we do quite a bit of that, but we primarily deploy it for non-profit purposes. For example, there's a project called Sensor. If you type online, and if you type Sensor, our company's name, you can see that we deployed face recognition or age invariant face recognition for um, this non-profit in Uttar Pradesh. And the key idea was that children are kidnapped from brothels, uh, um, are kidnapped from weaker sections of society and pushed into brothels. So they're kidnapped at age 10, pushed into a brothel at age 18, and their facial features change so much that even if you find the child, you don't know who the child is. And then that is where they're using age invariant face recognition to reunite the children with the families. And they've saved, I think, 13 or so children so far. So I think that's a very useful, impactful application. But I think if you deploy this solution for the government, then obviously they can use it in nefarious ways if they want to, although there are guardrails. But currently, we are moving far away or steering far away from face recognition for governments.
Right. And what is your philosophy on the future in which like AIs might fight wars, and some individuals or some companies might have extreme amounts of power? Let's take like Anduril, and let's
Mhm.
picture them in 10 years having an army of robots, that can pretty much dominate the world on command. What's your philosophy around that? Shouldn't we have like guardrails and limitations, or discussions around what could happen?
Yeah, I think it's a very good point. And I think even for us, um, our systems are operating in silos and adapting. Um, how do we make sure that this adaptation is the within the guardrails which we initially programmed, right? How and beyond that, how do we make sure that someone is not intentionally trying to adapt the system or making it adapt so that it doesn't poison itself? So I think those are a lot of the things which need to have some sort of discussion on policy around. For example, if you look at the drone war in Ukraine, right? And it started off as initially just tiny bombers as payloads to drones, and now they have become full-fledged kamikaze drones. So I think from a philosophy point of view, we steer away from building autonomous weapons, and especially the kind of things we are trying to do where the key idea itself is to remove human from the loop so that the system can be totally autonomous, hence the self-learning, right? So we don't want to build totally autonomous weapon systems, but I think it's hard to steer away from these kind of things in today's ecosystem where things are moving more towards weapons. But I think from a philosophy point of view, I feel like it shouldn't be done, or should be done very carefully within a regulatory framework, which at least currently doesn't exist.
So, and what's your AI predictions in the defense industry? Like a lot of people are opposed to these AI drones or
Mm.
AI soldiers, sort of. But I'm pretty sure we're gonna get these in less than 5 years at the rhythm that the world is moving forward. These are already like being tested. I don't think there's any laws preventing companies from creating these AI soldiers, right? So when would we actually when are we actually going to see like AI soldiers being deployed? Because right now there's AI drones, right,
Yeah.
which technically are soldiers. Tell me a bit more about that.
So, so if you look a couple of years back, most of the work was on perception, observing the battlefield to see the enemies coming so that you could take action, which was basically human action. We moved further a little bit, where we have been able to combine perception with motor action, where now you have a drone which is observing where to go, and now you're able to turn the motors in a way so that you are actually able to take an action on that as well. And now we also have robotic dogs which also interact with their environment, but they interact with legs. So in the future, which I think is coming in the next 5 years or so, you're actually going to have humanoids which are able to walk and operate in the environment similar to how we operate, and do whatever needs to be done. And maybe I would have even argue that it doesn't even have to be a humanoid. The soldier is soldier, but doesn't really need to have a human form. If, let's say, the form can be a drone which can fly much faster, or a car which can drive around and can get to where it needs to get to quicker. So I think it's coming within the 5 years or so, but it's coming because we are able to combine perception with action. So yeah, it's a scary world.
Right. And what would such a world look like? Would it be safer for humans because we wouldn't fight wars, or we would certainly have like AI drones and AI soldiers kill real humans at scale and more efficiently?
I think so far it's not so bad because it is still a function of what a human wants to do or program them to do. I don't think so. We have truly autonomous systems yet, which can, where one model or one machine can do a lot of the things together. So it's still very localized, very focused, but the machine is very good at doing that. And it is still human in the loop. So the human has to sell, hey, here's the data, or here are the rules, and if you encounter A, B, C, D, do C, D, F, whatever that may be. So I think it's still okay, and still we can rely on humanity to do the right thing. But I think a world where you are able to remove the human in the loop, and the machine has the ability to adapt itself, change itself in the real world automatically, would be a totally different world, because then you'll have to get into the questions of consciousness as to how does a machine know after a while, when it has adapted, that this is the right thing to do. um, and that's something I think we are not ready for yet.
Yeah, because ultimately the name of the game of a war is like neutralize the enemy so that they have less soldiers and you have more probabilities to win. It's a very dire and yeah, prehistoric nature, right? Like very primeval nature.
Yeah.
Even if the AI knows that this person has a family and it will hurt them. Yeah, like the name of the game, sort of eliminating them so that they don't come back. That's
Yeah.
the true nature. I think war itself is quite toxic. I think it's an outdated concept. Defense is way more like it, and preemptive defense, and like you said, like limiting damage. I think is the name of the game because yeah, ultimately, even if you eliminate someone, you might anger their family. They might come back at you, and you might like exacerbate the actual problem, right? So yeah,
Yeah.
let's see where that goes. But like, how could an AI evaluate how to minimize damage? Like that's very cerebral, and that's like another side of the game. You need to sort of inform it about the full consequence of its actions, right? Like how can you teach an AI not to do war sort of while being in a war zone?
So, so I think depends on the objective, right? Depends on what the objective is. If the objective is to go and kill the other person, that's what a machine's gonna do, right? You can try to teach it to minimize collateral damage. I think it can try to do that, but just think of this famous example that a self-driving car is going on the road, and there is a old man, and there is a child, and you have to hit one or the other. um, who do you hit, right? So I think over there a human might want to like go and drive on the side of the road and like damage themselves, but a machine would not do that. So I think if you program them to go and kill, they will kill. um, there's no way around it. They might try to minimize something, but they might not want to minimize something at the cost of damaging themselves, which I think is a inherent innate property in humans. They are selfless, but the machine isn't.
Right. Well, that's where that goes. Amarjot, where can people find out more about you and your company?
Yeah, so I think you can find out a lot about us on our website, Skylark Labs. We have a very active LinkedIn page. We also continuously post press releases, which where you can know more about our deployments and applications and where this self-learning AI is headed.
There you go. So that was Amarjot and Charles for another founder